guys, it's me, Jay, and today we're going to be doing a part 2 to the last video of Landon Kirby development season 1 analysis, but this time it's going to be a season 2 analysis. Now, thank you guys for all the support. The fact that right now it's been like maybe 2 to 3 days and the video's already at like 300 views. Thank you. I'm happy to see your guys' opinions. I'm happy that y'all to agree with me in this case of him having this neglected storyline, or that his feelings and his emotions are always invalid or seems to be pushed under the rug when push comes to shove. And once again on Twitter, I've seen like a lot of quote retweets because I really didn't see them. I didn't get a notification. So if they're aunties, girl, fuck you.
Depressing.
Nobody's worrying about you. I'm still gonna do these videos regardless, like I said.
Who the fuck are you to tell? Bitch, you're not my fucking mom.
I don't know why the fuck talking about Landon is getting y'all a little hype. But yes, so season 2 is a fucking wildfire. I feel like now I'm at a point where if I go to season 2, 3, and 4, I'm just going to immediately just start getting to rants. Now, I only have a few bullet points for season 2 compared to season 1, because season 1 would have been shorter, but I definitely did go on a tangent, but also doing some explaining. Season 4 probably gonna be the longest video, I probably feel like, because I got so many fucking bullet points and the season is not even done. But season 2, my main problem was with 2A first, and then 2B, it kind of was like a season 1 scenario where his powers got lost in the end. So you really kind of just like, what? But it's so annoying because if I talk about this season, I just can't help but pull up the other 2 seasons, even though I'm not supposed to bring them up because they got their own separate video. I just be so tempted to talk about season 3 and 4 because the shit that happens is just nonsense. Obviously, if you're here, I'm a Landon Kirby stan, probably at least the top 5 Landon Kirby stan out here, and I'm here to give my son the respect and explaining his reasonings as he should, because I'm tired of seeing people on the internet invalidate his reasonings and his actions. But to this time, I already kind of talked about the fandom's kind of point of view. Let's talk about the show's point of view and the main concept, which is trauma. Trauma is one of the most untouched things in Legacies, which I said in the last video, but I feel like you really start to see it this season because the way that we was introduced with these big mind-punching trauma effects that he suffered after Hope vanishing from his mind, and the fact that it just got thrown under the rug in so many scenarios. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about. That's the main topic of the video. But this video might take, maybe it's going to be 30 minutes, maybe it's going to be 40 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to take, depending on how fast I fucking rant about 2A, because 2A is completely a rant in itself. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the first one. Landon being out of character in 2A. If you know Landon Kirby and if you reflect on his actions and you see him for within these 4 seasons, season 2A is when he's the most out of character, because once again it's to pursue a storyline of Hope not being with him, because once again he is now getting into his only love interest era, where he's only as a love interest. At this point, there's barely development in him. It's more so development in him and Hope's relationship. Right now, since he's not with her, he can't develop more so he has to be out of character in order for us to believe that he wouldn't realize that Hope is for him, or he wouldn't realize that he knows something is up. Perfect example, 2A, the whole fucking thing. Honestly, if I'm being honest, episode 1 to episode 4 was probably the best hand and angst of, like, you seen the push and pull. Towards the end to episode 6, it was bullshit. But for Handon, okay. But for him and his trauma, horrible. 201, it opens up with Landon kind of feeling depressed. Like, he's seeing everybody go home for summer, I believe, and he's just alone. He's here, he don't know about his mom. Well, I feel like he now knows, once again, since Hope jumped in Malavore, and then he's alone. So he's at the school by himself and don't have any company. He talking about how he's feeling hopeless, like he feels like something is missing, but he don't know what it is. So he's just trying to find any type of thing to keep his head straight. We find out by episode 1, or in the beginning of that season, that he has been committing suicide how long. Like I said in the last video, it's possibly 2 to 4 months, because I think on the TVD timeline it says that she jumped in like maybe March or April, and now it's like about to become the beginning of July. So he's been killing himself for a good 2 to 3 months, and it, like, we don't know how long it's been, but the thing is that we don't know how he curiously got it. We never realized how he just stumbled upon knowing that he can have these memories of this girl in his mind when he dies. Like, we don't know what made him do it. We don't know what made it transpire. We don't know what happened in the midst of those 2 to 3 months to where Landon realized that the more he can kill himself, the more he can get to seeing this glimpse of these eyes and this necklace. First of all, you're not gonna have me fucking believe that he don't see that damn necklace, that Michelson Crest necklace, or them eyes, and never realize that it's Hope. Like, boy, no. Especially when no one that he's met has had those eyes. You see like this brown hair, blue eyes, lips. Like, you're basically seeing the whole damn face. Unless it's not what he's seeing, what we're more so showing us, but he may be seeing something different. There's no fucking way. And the thing is that this whole season was just like a last minute rewrite. Because Julie Plec was like, hey, we're going to have Hope get in a love triangle relationship with twins, which was Ethan and Maya. That never happened. I was excited for it. I was excited to see her and Maya. And then I was like, okay, well, if she's going to go there, Lance obviously going to be with Josie. It was just, the season was horrible. Like, the season was just like, how many Easter eggs can we do? Do that. It was a mess. But yes, like, we find out that he's been killing himself routinely, and Josie finds out, and then after a minute, but yes, Josie stumbles upon Landon about to commit. Like, he just comes out of, obviously resurrecting again, and she's like trying to say, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing? And the thing is that what kills me is that this was a first mentioning of a possible storyline about him having limited resurrections, because Josie said, you don't know how many times you can have this. It never was brought up again. It was never brought up again. It was never touched again about if he had limited resurrections, because that was one of his powers. And that since he's been exhausting it theoretically for 3 to 4 months, plus he don't have his brother. His brother is a werewolf now. The fact that was mentioned and then it was just never touched again. Because, another spoiler warning, we don't know his powers at all. We don't know his powers. By the end of the season, he goes back to season 1 Landon. And that helps you feel better. It doesn't help me in this case. It doesn't help me in this scenario. But yes, so, Josie talks about his trauma. About him killing himself. And he deviates, talking about lying and stuff like that. And then everything was over. After Josie stumbled upon him, Landon just stopped because he had a girlfriend, or almost potential girlfriend. They wasn't even dating yet, and he just stopped doing it. Never talked to a therapist, St. Emma. What he's doing could potentially need help. He just had a girlfriend and a summer buddy, so it's perfectly fine. That's bullshit, isn't it?
If you thought you ate, unfortunately, you did not. You are actually starving. I see your bones.
He's killed himself routinely, got the proper gear, everything to basically see these glimpses, and then it was just forgot about. Like, once he got with Josie, it just was forgot about. Not even before he dated her. It's when he started when they started hanging out during summer, he just seemed to stop caring. After he was dedicated for months. No one ever talked about him committing suicide again, which is thrown under the rug like it never happened, which it did multiple times. And yeah, because trauma number 1, we don't touch that trauma. The second part is Ralph. Landon over the summer was routinely going to meet up with Ralph, even though Ralph was in wolf form, and giving him food. Like, obviously, because Ralph is starving. We don't want Ralph to eat a damn human. So Landon be coming out here with these T-bone, tenderloin steaks, and he just stopped as well. Like, those two things that would have been a reaction of Landon losing both Ralph and Hope, or at least his brother in this scenario, because I don't want him to be committing, suicide every fucking day now. And the proper reaction, which is caring for his brother, because him and his brother are supposed to be bros for life, he just stopped caring about him. That's out of character too. He literally was routinely giving Ralph tenderloin steak, and then Landon was like, okay, fuck my brother. Like, he The thing is that I don't watch 2A at all because it's a fever dream. Like, it's a horror dream. I don't even remember if he actually talked about Ralph at all until like fucking until like after he got it with his girlfriend. And even then, he was over here trying to, have his facade of being the person that destroyed Malivore, which doesn't even make sense, to be honest, on how he would destroy Malivore, but the school was dumb. But I rarely remember until like fucking 204 when Hope found Ralph, because Hope was the only one that remembered. Like, everybody just seemed to say, forget Ralph. Like, oh, Ralph is, they tried to help in a degree, but Hope was the only one that actually pursued the shit. Landon literally said, so within not even like an episode, he has been, dealing with trauma, doesn't get help, just stops because he has somebody else in his life. He starts caring about his brother because, hey, I guess you don't care about me anymore because he's a wolf. And I'm supposed to believe that's Landon. Landon, who would never give up on anybody. Landon, who was dead ass determined for MG to meet his dad and his family. Landon, the dead ass one that was not giving up on Hope and to prove that he was innocent. Like, he was innocent and he didn't betray her trust. The same Landon that was trying to prove continuously that he belongs at this school. The Landon that continuously did everything he can and made, even though he had to leave, he made sure that Ralph was able to stay there. He literally said he wanted Ralph to be here because he belonged here. And that's supposedly, this is the same Landon that said, okay, well, I guess Ralph wanted to be on his own as a wolf for the rest of his fucking life. Hell. The bar is in hell. The next one is the lack of therapy. I feel like the lack of therapy is one of the things that I just don't understand. I feel like, first of all, this might be the least organized video because, to be honest, like, everything kind of intertwines and everything I'm already talking about. But one thing I just don't understand is how this school has a therapist, Emma, and Emma just doesn't do shit. Like, Emma literally is a therapist and she doesn't know how to do her job. Emma deadass had these kids out here just getting into therapy boxes with somebody that's literally like in between darkness and lightness. Like, are you kidding me? Emma, we never seen, like, in the fact that season 2 now, you'd have thought because now he's going through so much, Emma was never in sight. Just like how I'm supposed to believe in 214 that every random bitch was on that episode but Landon Kirby. No. Jade came out here to have a cameo tease, but not Wendy. And then I'm supposed to believe that Landon Kirby just got a new ability, a power ability, and it was just not shown at all. Ridiculous. Anyways, let's talk about, before we get into powers, because that's a rant in itself. Season 2A and the rest of the whole season 2 was, we can't take risks, so let's just kill Landon. They found out that Landon power is resurrection. They put in our faces that he killed himself multiple times. And then they said, you know what, let's make it even better. Let's have every random fucking monster just kill Landon Kirby. Landon Kirby got his neck snapped by every monster in this bitch.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
From every monster to then have him get killed by monsters, to then have Sebastian, who was there for 5 fucking minutes, snap his neck, to then getting stabbed by Lizzie, which, was mostly due to the Uni, which, I excuse that point. That's probably the only one I'm excusing from everything else. He was getting killed by every monster in this bitch. Like, there was an unnecessary amount. Like, I remember being on Twitter around season 2, and we were just waiting. We were just waiting every episode of how many times can Landon get his neck snapped or killed by these monsters. Like, you would have known, like, that Hope doesn't want to lose Landon, right? Because she loves him. So why the fuck does she always gotta keep witnessing Landon, like, die? How many times has she been around him when he had to resurrect? 211, 204... Shit, like, those are just 2 of the ganders. I just don't understand why the fuck was every time there. And the thing is that it's even more dumb because if you introduce the topic of him possibly having limited resurrections, like what Josie said in 201 or whatever, and then now literally an episode later, he just getting killed every episode, didn't that defeat the purpose of mentioning that? So he doesn't have limited resurrections then, because he just did as just get killed 4 times an episode, well 4 times in 4 episodes in a row, and he just like, okay. I just don't understand, like, what the fuck was this season? What was the season even about? Like, did Landon even have character development, like, at all? Because 2A, he was a different character. He really was a different character. I was supposed to believe that Landon Kirby in 2A has been dying multiple times to see the glimpse of vision. He finds out that he somehow has this kind of attraction and intriguement to this girl he doesn't know. And then he finds out that who she is by 204. And then the next episode, they're going to push us this sex episode in our faces. And then he just suddenly don't care that he was killing himself for this vision, this girl named Hope Michelson. And then he finds out who she is, and he's just like, okay. And the thing is that I understand, because what can he do? He has a girlfriend. He can't emotionally cheat, which is what some of y'all wanted. But he can't emotionally cheat. Obviously, he's a loyal boyfriend. So he's confused. He's going to distract himself. He's going to pretend that it never happened. But for you to have me believe that even though he knows that she's important to him, that in 206, I ain't supposed to watch him just try to throw the oop with Ralph. Landon. No. No. That was another out of character thing. Like, Landon, I understand if he wants to avoid her, obviously, because she's an importance to him some way, somehow. But the way that for him to do that and distract himself is to say, yeah, I'm throw the oop. Which, I mean, you could kind of say that he did it to, like lower himself, like, you know, find a way to, like, separate him and Hope from this kind of, this thing they got going on, because clearly they have something sparked from what he remembered, and that clearly she's not going to tell him because she told him to go back to Josie. But the thing is that he really was like, Ralph, you can go. We can have a double date. Sir, you already know that Hope is something of importance. Why would you sit here and try to have a double date with her? I just feel like season 2 had just so much potential, and it just flopped. Like, season 2 in itself was so ridiculous because Landon had so many storylines to have on his own. He had dealing with being alone by himself. He had trauma. He had had a choice of finding his brother, still maintaining a relationship with his brother, which he didn't. He didn't get help in therapy. He just got thrown under the rug. And instead of him being just a Hope love interest, he became just a Josie love interest. But like, Landon just came back. He was moved to another love interest. Like, you thought he left one. He just became another love interest to somebody else. Like, he didn't get a chance to breathe at all. He just became another love interest who, once again, was just doing whatever he was asked, such as playing that damn sport, trying to be a perfect boyfriend to somebody else. Like, he just had the same season 1 problem all over again. And I'm just like, don't understand. No trauma? Like, what? Like, really? Now, I know that in 114, that MG and him talked about when MG killed him. But, like, the fact that, like I said in last video, Landon never really still had a fear of that. Like, the fact that he was just like, okay, I'm going to keep killing myself and not understand. Like, he don't even know his powers yet. And he just was okay with doing this. And nothing was touched ever. It was never brought up again. And the thing is that I'm mentioning is because the later powers, we get that for one fucking day. Why in the hell did Landon just become a punching bag this season? He gets killed in 208. 208 get thrown in the back trunk. He out here getting killed every day, getting trashed by Sebastian who he don't even fucking know. He out here trying to help his girlfriend. He still gets trashed. He gets powers to finally solidify that him and Hope, is they're one of their kind. Loses it in the next fucking episode. He gets it in 211, and in 213, loses it in 215. And then in 214, we don't see Landon at all. We just get an indication that while everybody's in a therapy box, which doesn't make fucking sense, he's over here flying and we can't fucking see it. And then he loses his powers in 215. I cannot believe that we got reconned his powers when we didn't even fucking see it that long. What was the point? Landon's a phoenix, psych, that's the wrong number. He literally lost his powers within an episode. We couldn't even see it. How every time we see his powers when a big Jurassic moment happened, and then just said, fuck you, Landon stands, because he don't have it anymore. And then had that be a main storyline in season 3 as to why he doesn't have his powers, and then he fucking goes into the prison world, and it doesn't matter. Do you see my problem here? Landon always has a potential storyline of his own to get mentioned, and then it gets erased. And Legacies does this all the time, where they can handle a big storyline towards the end of the season, so they drop everybody else's storyline. So season 2, everybody had their own storylines, and then Dark Josie and then Necromancer was happening, so everybody else's storyline just kind of got dropped. And then it was all towards, obviously, you know, coming together like the Avengers, and obviously getting Josie back as they should. But, like, everybody's storyline got dropped, and Landon's storyline was the most dropped, because what the fuck was he even there for? He was just there for love interest, again. Landon literally is love interest. Like, Landon literally had powers, which we were waiting for a whole season. And he lost it. Like, you see this? You see this? And then he loses his powers. Ralph becomes dead. You know, all to get ready for the last, like, 3 episodes, which is the big villain. Like, I just cannot believe this shit. Hey, Landon is flying. Okay. We still want to see Landon's traumatism, losing his mom, or finding out that his dad is wants him as a vessel, or that he's been dying routinely, or that he almost lost his brother, or that he almost lost the love of his life, or he found the love of his life die. I mean, it was lying to him. Oh no, it doesn't matter, because Landon Kirby's back to another love interest. He went from Hope, then Josie, back to Hope. That was it. That was his moment. Just to see him as a different love interest for different people. Like, wow. He didn't even, the only friendship he really had there was with him and Wade at the time, and then with him and Wade, he was they both had power that nobody, like, come on. Wow. Like, he was literally a love interest, the kick the bucket kill, and recon powers. And then if he was feeling spicy, which you rarely had, he would just be out of character. The thing is that with season 2, even though we were mad about what happened when him losing his powers, we still had faith that Landon would somehow have significant development in season 3. I just feel like I think it might be shorter than the rest, because with season 3, we really had high expectations. We were like, you know, even though Landon lost his powers this episode, he's going to get his powers back in season 3. He's going to be a badass Phoenix. Landon's going to get his powers back. We don't know how, but yeah. No, it just recreated the same problem that he had in season 1 about how when he didn't have his powers, that meant that he wasn't going to be significant enough for Hope, and that he wasn't going to be her equal because she's indestructible, and now he is destructible. That was literally the problem, which lasted from season 2 to 3. And hell, it can be season 3 because that wasn't even Landon Kirby. It wasn't? I don't know. We had a lot of Landon Kirbys in season 3. You gotta catch up for me. Season 2, the first half was just, I don't even know what to say. Like, I remember watching it, and I remember getting so frustrated and irritated because some of the actions that Landon Kirby did just made no sense. So with season 2 was a shit show. I feel like with Landon Kirby, he probably had one of the weakest storylines this season, because it was literally a repeat of season 1, and then it got worse because in season 3, none of it was never resolved. If anything, it just got ultimately destroyed and then got hanged in our faces for fishes and gulpies and piranhas to eat at. If you don't know what I mean, I feel like a lot of Jurassic choices that happened with Landon Kirby in season 2, especially, was just like for other characters. Landon never really had a storyline of his own. The closest we had of a storyline of Landon having his own storyline, it was completely taken from us within an episode frame, because it would have been 2 episodes, but one of the episodes he was not on the screen, so we wouldn't even be able to tell. But what kills me is that you really can see how the writing just changed in season 2 between 2A and 2B. We had this high expectation that like everybody's gonna have their own storyline, everybody was gonna flourish themselves, everybody's gonna have their own moment. Landon could potentially be trying to like figure out who he is because he lost hope but he doesn't know, trying to fit into the school, trying to fit into having this burden of somehow they think he saved the school from Malivore, to finding out who this girl is, to having this relationship with Josie and then realizing that like why does it feel kind of different, you know, him trying to get Ralph back, or in some indication caring, him potentially, you know, learning more about his Phoenix side, maybe therapy. But in this instinct, we never really got it. I feel like this season was literally just a limbo scenario. It's not as bad as season 3 and 4 because oh my fucking god, I can rant about it for hours. But for season 2, I do have like maybe 4 to 5 bullet points, and the things that most of them kind of rewind with 2A or access in 2A that just doesn't really make sense to me. There is some instances in 2B where I can just keep talking in circles because there's like 4 to 5 big things that happened in this season that was erased or just reconned or just not seem to be cared about again. And I really want to understand why. Because at first, we initially thought it was going to be brought up to season 3 and that, okay, we got bigger things in store. I was so confident. I was like, you know what? You got to trust it. Even though it may not happen in season 2, it's going to happen in season 3. Why? Because I trust the writers. I know that Landon Kirby's powers are going to be touched again. I know Landon Kirby's trauma is going to be touched again. I know Landon Kirby's going to have his own storyline than just being a love interest. And every season, it just falls into the same fucking format. He is not with Hope this season in 2A. But he still becomes a love interest to somebody else. And the thing is that in season 3, he had a whole ass prison war storyline. You won't see it at all. Ta-da-da. You will not see that shit at all. He was just in the prison world doing doing MIA business. We would never know. And the thing is that now we're in season 4 and we thought we would find out about that, but oh my fucking god, we don't! What the fuck? And like, listen, I'm so tempted. I'm like so tempted to not talk about season 3 and 4 because it's a whole fucking separate entity. But like, every time you talk about each season, you're just like, you've had faith in the next season, and then the next season, and then the next season, and then the next season, and nothing happens because there's another storyline to be pushed that's not going to be finished. Season 3 was a prison world thing, which is the first probably time we could actually have got a Landon storyline of his trauma for real. Because season 1 and 2, we got neglected of his trauma, especially with 2A being a kill show, and it didn't even fucking matter. Because Landon, you couldn't see it, and when you got Landon back, it was a fake ass Landon, and then it was a Malivore Landon, and then real Landon was just not there. So season 3 was literally only 2% Landon, and everything else was any bitch. Arya though, he done an amazing job at flourishing with his character, and Arya he deserves a fucking medal. Because the fact is that he plays so many Landon Kirby, so many versions, so many kind of just entities. And they all never failed to amaze me. They all popped. It was never a flop Landon. Like, he did an amazing job at every character. That's the positive note that I'm going to be leading this season on, because season 3 and 4 is going to be probably the worst and longest videos ever. Just giving you this now, because with this season, it was more so just a neglection of Landon having an actual storyline, which is always a common theme in every video I'm going to be telling you right now. But with this one, you get to see Landon's biggest attribution, becoming a boyfriend to somebody. Before I even get into 2A, I just want to say right now that Landon literally had no development. I feel like the closest development he had as like an actual character was when he got back with Hope, and then you got to see more so him developing into his own. You got to see some type of traits, some type of personalities that he had between Josie and Hope as love interests, and actions and certain things of like why they're different and why the relationship works differently. But you never really got to see him if anything, the closer we got to Landon having like his own like moments was in 211 and then 213, and then those when it was getting good for him, he ended up losing his powers, and it didn't matter because now we're back to square one where Landon feels like he's not worthy of being with Hope because now he's back to being human. The whole thing about Landon's powers that just pisses me off is that Landon in season 1, we got his powers revealed in episode 13. So we technically never really got a chance to use it because in 14 he was kidnapped, 15 it was Malavore centric, episode 16 was when, you know, Hope went into Malavore. So for me this season, in season 2, I thought we would have learned more about Malavore because even though Hope is in Malavore, which I don't even know why they thought it was a good idea, I think that was a last moment gesture because in order for him to be destroyed, you have to be the full Tribrid. So if they knew that it wouldn't kind of work in 207, I don't know why they thought it was going to change in 207 when it didn't even work in 116. But it's not tangent. I just don't understand. Like, I would expect it 2A or at least 2B to kind of focus on why Malavore is still somehow here and somehow still coming for Landon, because in this case, the summoning monster wasn't coming at the school for Landon. It was coming for Hope when she came back, so the monster wasn't worried about Landon. I want to know why that was. I wanted to see more about why Landon would have been this amazing host for Malavore, and why this Phoenix, like I said in the last video, why the Phoenix was such an important attribution for Malavore to rise, and we never saw it. We got to see some amazing ass powers, but they kind of overlapped because it was levitation and flight. And we started to learn that it was his emotions that were giving him these, well, the first killing wasn't, but like the emotions in 211 and 213 were the main reasons why he was getting powers, because there were big emotions in his life, where the first one was that he felt all this love that Hope had for him and this faith that she had in him and that he was the perfect guy for her. And then in 213 we had when he was under pressure saving, you know, Dorian, that he did whatever he needed to do in order to protect and save Dorian, right? It just didn't matter. It just didn't matter at all, because after that, like, it just took it from us. So once again, we're like, damn, we spent a whole season 1 getting these powers and learning about Landon and finding out that he's a Phoenix, which means that he's one of his kind, like Hope is, and him and Hope are going to have this kind of significant bond where they're the only one of each other's kind, and that they're both not destructible, and that this can lead to something good. And then it just literally falls flat on our fucking faces, because Landon literally loses his powers within the end of the season and then is never touched again, and we still don't have a Phoenix Landon. So what the fuck was the point of them giving us Phoenix Landon when in reality it wasn't making any fucking sense? It didn't matter, because Landon in season 4 doesn't have anything. And the thing is that we still, even still, with Landon still being human, we still don't know anything. Like I mentioned in the last video, it's hilarious that the monster in 413 literally got a backstory just to die, and we still don't got any type of indication or any type of book reading about what a Phoenix is at all. All the fucking books in the school, and then talk about a Phoenix. That's nothing about DNA, nothing about how he was born, nothing about his significance, nothing about why he really still is a host reason. None of it on if his head is really confirming or headcanon that his emotions is the main thing. But instead, they wanted us to go back to him just being a love interest like Peekaboo. It's bad. It's bad. And the thing is that this video would have been longer, but I already talked about certain 207, him leaving, and that indication about that love storyline. So I don't want to repeat it because you already saw it in the first video. But this video is essentially shorter because it's just talking about how his trauma was neglected. His powers was taken away from him after he got it. So he was reconned back to human. He, got killed so many times that it was just not even shocking anymore. I feel like they just tried to kill him because they didn't want to kill anybody else off the show, because everybody on the show is so important already that they don't want to kill anybody from the show. So they're just like, oh yeah, let's just have Landon get killed and killed again because he's not going to die. That's what I feel like they did that for. And then we also got just him being a love interest and then being out of character this whole season. So essentially the season is bad for him. but isn't as bad as season 3 and 4. Trust me, those are going to be the wild fucking fires of it all. I kid you not. But let me know what you think about this episode. Once again, let me know what you think about season 2A in itself and 2B. What did you like and dislike about this season? What is some things that really kind of pissed you off, or one thing that you wish they did or done better? One thing I wish they done better in season 2A or 2 in general is just to focus on his powers. Yes, he could have been in another relationship, but he could have had his own storyline with his powers instead of having it last minute to then having it stripped away from him. And then for it to not be any main problem in season 3, because yes, it was mentioned in the first couple episodes of season 3, and they finally were getting real development in the relationship as seeing him as a human and being fine with it, but it was erased and destroyed because of him becoming, him melting into Malivore. But, I'm more excited for season 3 and 4 because that's going to be a wildfire. Obviously, season 4 might take a longer time to come out because season 4 is not done, but we'll see. Anyways, that was my season 2 Landon Kirby development analysis. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos on Landon Kirby. What other videos you want me to do besides just Landon Kirby? You want me to do a season 1 or season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4 favorite episodes, or least favorite, or favorite type of storylines? Let me know what I want to see later on. Whatever. Until next time, guys, make sure to be safe. Peace.